We have a new month. That means we are following the latest theme from Centers for Spiritual Living for the month of September. Did you think it would ever get here? It's ensuring the stewardship of our planet. And the value for the month is love. And I don't know any way to begin any endeavor, any activity, anything we call a task or work without the consciousness of love. When I was a young teenager in our center, we used to call them churches. And this was in Redondo Beach. Someone in our spiritual community gave me a beautiful poem that I put up on the wall in my bedroom, and I would read it every morning before I would go to school. And it empowered me, and it empowered me to do my homework or any of the other tasks that were ahead of me to do. And it goes like this. Power divine, the sunrise gloweth bright. I rise to do thy will. The love that kept me through the passive night can guide and keep me still. Fear cannot enter where the love divine doth ever dwell. The power and the strength alone are thine, and thou doest all things well. The weight of a decision unto me doth not belong. I look alone to thee, and in thy strength am strong. The power of love alone the world can sway. God shall prevail. If naught but love reign in my heart today, nothing I do can fail. Everything I do succeeds. I added that part because I like to end it on a positive note. That was so meaningful to me. I want everything to which I set my hand, my mind, my heart to be holy, to be generous, to be authentic. I want it to be work as sacred service. And when I begin with that consciousness, I always succeed. You know what I mean. When we enter into anything knowing it is a holy exercise and we're bringing love to our work, it's a very different experience than when we go, okay, I'm going to do this. Let's be like Charles Fillmore. If you know it, say it with me. At 94, he would basically jump out of bed and he would say, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm as I spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that can only be done by me. You did that this morning, right? Not so much. Tomorrow? Put it on your to-do list. And you know what Khalil Gibran, wonderful poet, author of The Prophet, said, and when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself and to one another and to God. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with a breath of your own spirit. Work is love made visible. Let's take that one sentence into everything that we do throughout our day. Work is love made visible. If you want the world to see something spectacular, do it with love. Do it with the understanding that you're not doing anything by yourself. It is that divine presence and energy and life force within us that is the creative, intelligent force doing everything and doing it beautifully when we get the small self out of the way long enough to be that instrument through which God can be God in us. And everything that we do becomes beautiful, not only in our own lives, for ourselves, for our personal careers, or whatever it is that we're doing, but for our family, for our neighbors, for those in the workplace, and those in our larger community, and the world itself. And when we work together with this attitude here in our spiritual community, it is amazing what we can get what the things we can accomplish. We have a community meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. Won't it be wonderful to be putting heads and hearts together? To be knowing that there is one divine source and it's operating in, through, and as all of us. Yes, we all have individual opinions. Did you notice? Did you notice that we have ideas about things that aren't necessarily the same as everybody else's? But when we come together in the spirit of love, and as the song said, creating that vision and implementing it together, then all of those threads become important ones that are woven into the entire tapestry of the vision of our community and what we can do to make a difference. We're very much involved, each of us in our own ways, with making the planet a place that we want our great grandchildren and so forth to live and to thrive. And we have our work to do there. We don't we don't get so caught up in what needs to be done that we become paralytic. We want to make sure that we do what we do with love, even a small thing. It doesn't always have to be joining a huge movement to make a difference if we do small things with love, as Mother Teresa said. You can't do everything. We're not supposed to try to do everything. We can get exhausted. Instead, we want to do everything we do. Not necessarily great things, but small things with great love. And it truly makes a difference. There's a vibration that takes place in all of the human consciousness then, when what we do with sincerity, we do with authenticity, we do with a sense of holiness, a sense of being courageous enough to do our part. And when we come together as a community, making plans, creating our vision, all those individual threads that may seem diverse, and may seem so different, and how are we ever going to get on the same page? We let God do it. Because we can't do it of ourselves. We can't make it all harmonized if we're still sticking to, this has got to be my way. So we surrender that and let the infinite wisdom guide us, and let the divine love make sure that every effort, every task, and every activity, large or small, are definitely given in love, with clear intention to make a positive difference in our own lives, in our families, and ultimately in the world. Many of you by now are familiar with John O'Donohue, who wrote this beautiful book of Celtic wisdom called Anamkara. You know what Anamkara means? Soul friend. Soul friend. Anamkara. And so he says, when we perform an action, the invisible within us finds a form and comes to expression. Therefore, our work should be in the place where the soul can enjoy becoming visible and present. Where the soul can enjoy becoming visible and present. Don't you want to bring your soul into your everyday activities? Can you imagine how rich that feels? How joyous you are in doing everything that you choose to do, and how peacefully you sleep at night, knowing you've brought your soul forward into the world. He says our nature longs deeply for the possibility of expression in what we call work. I love my work. I love my work so much that I have always considered it starts with a capital W. It's activity, whether it's work or whether it's play, it's divine activity. And so when I bring the highest and the best that I can find within myself to every task that I do, whether it's scrubbing my kitchen floor, and every time I say this to anyone, they say, you like to scrub I love to scrub my kitchen floor, and they invite me to their house. I'm not coming. For dinner, maybe. Not to scrub your kitchen floor. That's mine to do. Mine. But whether it's that, or whether it's writing out a treatment, whether it's walking Wonder Dog yoga, whether it's holding a child, whether it is working with someone to lift consciousness, to heal a heart, to bring something new and beautiful into our lives, whether it is sewing on a button, all of it is a joy to me. Because in most cases, I am bringing that quality of God into what I do. If I forget and I'm going to grumble about something, I want to change it as fast as I can. Isn't that good? You know, we're not responsible for our first thought. We are responsible for our second thought. You know, like, oh, this is icky. That's my first thought. What a joy! I can bring something wonderful to this experience. That's my second thought, and I'm sticking with it. We have that creative opportunity at all times to choose another direction of our attitude. Our consciousness is a beautiful, malleable thing. It's a flowing thing. There are times that we feel very much in the flow of life, right? You know what that feels like. There are times that we feel like we got stuck in a boulder in the river of life. You know what that feels like, right? And so life continues to move on like a beautiful stream that it is, and we continue to move with it, or we can get ourselves stuck and say, I'm not going. It becomes very uncomfortable. And ultimately we flow with what's taking place for today, and we can be with what is, as they say. Just be with what is long enough to realize that whatever is taking place in our lives right now is very temporary. Spirit is eternal. What happens in our lives day by day changes. It's supposed to. Relationships change. Work environments change. Climate changes. We have our parts to do in it. But let's return to source each time, remembering that there is a power for good in the universe greater than you and I are, and yet right where we are and available for our use, this creative, intelligent activity is ours to use. Let's use it with joy. Let's use it with love. Love what you do. Do what you love. Let it be this divine activity. You know that when you do what you love and you love what you do, time goes so quickly, doesn't it? It's like, wow, it's September 1st already. It just goes so quickly because you're loving what you're doing what you love, and the time doesn't matter. You know, the Greeks had two words for time. One was chronos, that's this chronological time, and the other is kairos. Kairos is the divine time, the appointed time. Let's choose to live more in kairos than in chronos, and not get so bossed around by our watches and our clocks. I don't have deadlines. I gave up deadlines years ago. I have lifelines. I offer that to you as well. So that we're not feeling that we're in a crunch, but we're feeling as though we're in the flow of life, bringing love and bringing joy into everything that we do. You don't tire when you're doing what you love. You feel satisfied with your successes, right? And you inspire others to follow your example. When you walk into an office where people are hunkered down and upset because their internet isn't working or whatever is going on, and you come in with joy and delight, with an open heart, they're either going to call you nuts or or they're going to say, oh, there's another way to be. I think I'll try that. Don't you love modeling joy for other people? Don't you love being the presence of love, walking into a room and lifting the entire consciousness? Those are not small things that we can do. They're enormous things, making a difference in the very day, in the very moment where you are. So when we view our work as divine activity, which truly it is, rather than duty or drudgery, we're able to bring this active attitude of joy into everything that we do, everything to which we turn our hand and our heart and our minds. Everything becomes sweet. Everything becomes the way the divine intended it to be. Imagine going into your office, out into your fields, or through your classroom door with a light heart. Imagine that. Because I know that most of you do this, all of you do this from time to time. Some more than others, we're all still working on it. Going wherever it is that you're bringing your gifts that day with a positive attitude. The awareness that you're doing holy work by bringing your very best to each activity and every interchange with another person. Let our work be done in harmony with the greater life around us, as it creatively serves the one. We're serving the one when we come with this consciousness. That's why our work can become sacred service. I found a quote on the Centers for Spiritual Living field ministers list, and there was no attribution. Well, that won't keep me from reading it. Each of us exploring the hidden places within our own souls, yet also exploring our collected soulfulness as a population, as and in us a we as a community. Each of us a single string placed together to form a harp. A single note from your single string forms a note and a sound, but together we create something greater, something ethereal, maybe even something eternal. Maybe this sound goes on forever, reaching into every human, dead, alive, and not yet born. Maybe this is the secret chord that each of us is whole within ourselves to fully know and sing out our single note, so that we may join the wider chord, the set of strings, so that the sound we make moves and shakes each of us together in a dynamic, terrifying, shivering joy. I like that dynamic, terrifying, shivering joy. Can you get with me with that? Covering us like light, clinging to us like dark. Ooh. Each of us as a single vibrating string of God, coming together with the harp of all of us. Oh my gosh, the music we can make, the difference that we can effect in our world, the consciousness raised into a place of possibility. Yes, we can make this planet a beautiful place. Yes, we can be relied upon to do the kind of work that we came here to do, and it can be a capital W work with lots of joy and lots of fun and a whole bunch of camaraderie because we're doing it together. Are you in? Yes, please? Okay, so let's plant trees for the next generation's shade, because that's what we do when we're planting a tree. Let's plant it for the next generation's shade. Let's fine-tune our individual and collective instruments to bring our one notes, our individual notes, to the entire chorus of humankind. Because we're in the process, my beloveds, of awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. So will you say with me, I am in perfect alignment with divine life. I honor nature. I give my gifts from the sacredness of my soul. And so, my beloveds, beginneth our lesson. Thank you.